Okay, let's unpack this. You sent over a fascinating, really quite brief piece of dramatic text.
Yeah, an excerpt. Act 4, Scene 3, continued, it says, from something called the Lusty Argonian Maid.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive, I suppose, is to explore what we can actually glean from just this short exchange.
Exactly. What kind of scene is being set? What are the power dynamics at play here?
And maybe what's happening just beneath the surface of the dialogue?
It immediately sparked a lot of questions when I first read it.
It's certainly not every day we delve into, like, fictional drama like this, but there's often a ton of insight, isn't there, even in simple narratives?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes the shortest snippets tell you the most.
So let's start right there with the title, The Lusty Argonian Maid. What jumps out at you first?
Well, lusty, for sure. It immediately suggests a certain tone, a certain kind of energy, doesn't it?
Yeah, suggests desire is a big factor here. And maybe not very subtle desire either.
Mm-hmm. And then maid. So that points straight to a social role, right? Someone in service.
Probably in a lower position in the hierarchy.
Precisely. And then there's Argonian.
Right.
That tells us something specific about the character. Lifts her tail. It's clearly an identifier.
A race, maybe? Or a type of being in this fictional world?
Yeah, and it makes you wonder instantly, okay, how are Argonians viewed in this place? What does that label carry with it?
Then we get the characters introduced. Lifts her tail and Crantius Colto. Even the names themselves feel like they might be giving us clues.
They really do. What's your first impression of those?
Well, lifts her tail. It's quite striking, isn't it? Very physical, almost suggestive, maybe.
Definitely suggestive. It certainly makes you curious about her, about how she's perceived, or perhaps how she presents herself.
And Crantius Colto sounds different, more formal.
Yeah, I get that too. Maybe hinting at a higher social standing, perhaps. The Colto part, like you said, could almost be a family name, a lineage.
It sets up a contrast right away, doesn't it? Thinking about how playwrights use names.
A potential dynamic, for sure.
So the scene opens, lifts her tail, says, pretty straightforwardly, I'm here to clean your chambers.
But then Crantius Colto comes back immediately with, is that all you've come here for, little one? My chambers.
Whoa. That throws a curveball right from the start. What does that tell us about the atmosphere?
Well, it's how quickly the expected scenario, the simple cleaning task, just gets disrupted.
Yeah.
She gives a perfectly normal reason for being there, but his response, especially calling her little one.
Yeah, that's condescending.
Very. And expectant. It hints he thinks there's some other reason she's there. Or maybe he just wants there to be.
Then Lifts Her Tail replies, I have no idea what it is you imply, master. I am but a poor Argonian maid. That word master is, pretty loaded.
Oh, absolutely. It slams down that power imbalance right there.
Is it genuine, do you think? Or strategic?
That's the question, isn't it? Is she genuinely reflecting her status, or is she playing a role, using the word strategically?
And the poor Argonian maid bit, plus the feigned ignorance, could be naive, could be evasive.
Or just trying to navigate a really awkward, maybe dangerous situation. This exchange, right at the top, it plants that seed of conflict. Their stated reasons don't match the vibe at all.
Crantius Colto then goes, so you are my dumpling, and a good one at that. Such strong legs and shapely tail.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty blatant objectification, right? What's that reveal about him?
Well, it just strips away any pretense he might have had. He's just reducing her to her physical attributes.
Like an object for appraisal.
Exactly. And that casual, possessive my dumpling, it just underlines his sense of superiority, his entitlement. You can really see how language is being used there to assert dominance.
So Lifts Her Tail reacts with, you embarrass me, sir. How do we read that? Genuine embarrassment, something else.
Well, the beauty of drama often lies in those layers, right?
It's true.
It could be genuine discomfort. I mean, his remarks are pretty crude.
They are.
But given the power dynamic we've already seen and the whole suggestive nature of the encounter, it could also be maybe a more calculated response.
Like playing along. Or at least trying not to provoke him by challenging him directly.
Could be. It's ambiguous.
Then Crantius Colto offers this very reassuring line, fear not, you are safe here with me.
Oh, wow.
Given what he just said, that feels incredibly unsettling.
It's just dripping with irony, isn't it?
Completely.
His words, his actions just before this completely undermine any actual feeling of safety. That line. It could be deliberate manipulation, maybe trying to lull her into a false sense of security.
Or maybe he actually believes it. Like her safety depends on him and his whims.
Could be. Either way, it's a classic dramatic technique. creating that unease for the audience.
Mhm.
You just don't trust him.
So then lifts her tail, tries to shift back to the task at hand. I must finish my cleaning, sir. The mistress will have my head if I do not.
Ah, okay, so now there's a mistress.
Yeah, what does that add to the picture?
Well, it expands the hierarchy, doesn't it? We see Cranchius Colto isn't like the ultimate authority in this space.
Right.
The fear of the mistress, it highlights the strict social rules, the potential consequences for lifts her tail if she steps out of line or doesn't do her job.
So she's caught, potentially. Pressure from him, pressure from the mistress.
Exactly. It reinforces her subordinate position, makes her seem more trapped.
And then comes the line, cleaning, I have something for you. Here, polish my spear.
Yikes, okay.
Doesn't get much more direct as far as double entendres go.
No kidding. What makes that moment so pivotal, do you think?
Well, it feels like the point of no return, almost.
Yeah, this is where all that underlying sexual tension just bursts out into a really clear proposition.
The seemingly innocent request, polish, combined with the obvious phallic symbol of spear.
Leaves absolutely no room for doubt about what he really wants. It's crude, yeah, but very effective dramatically. Escalates things instantly, reveals his true motive.
It's that kind of double meaning you see in plays sometimes, right? Where the character reveals their inner thoughts to the audience.
While keeping up a thin veil of plausible deniability within the scene itself. Exactly.
So lifts her tail's final line in this bit is just, but it is huge.
Yeah.
That can be read in so many ways. What are your thoughts on that final exclamation?
That's kind of the genius of it, isn't it? That closing line.
Yeah.
On the surface, okay, maybe it's just a literal comment about the size of the spear he handed her.
Could be.
But given everything that just happened, it's just loaded with potential subtext.
Like surprise. Or maybe fear. Being overwhelmed.
Could be any of those. Or, depending on how you read her earlier reactions, maybe there's even a hint of, like, playful irony or shock.
The ambiguity is what makes it stick with you.
Definitely memorable.
And then the stage direction is simply exit. Just gone.
Right. What's the impact of ending it so abruptly like that?
Well, it just leaves the whole scene hanging, doesn't it?
Totally unresolved. It denies us any clear outcome. We're forced to sit there and wonder, okay, what happens next?
Does she actually polish the spear? Does she run? Does she resist? What are the consequences?
It's such a powerful way to crank up the dramatic tension and just leave the audience thinking, speculating.
So wrapping this part up, what does it all mean? Even from just this, maybe a dozen lines?
Well, we've definitely seen themes of power, pretty starkly.
Social class.
And that very palpable underlying tension seems to be leaning towards coercion, maybe?
It feels that way, yeah. The unanswered questions, the ambiguity in their motivations and reactions, that's what makes it really intriguing.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This little window, this tiny scene from the Lusty Argonian Maid, it almost certainly exists within a much bigger story, right?
Oh, absolutely. Understanding the full context, the whole play, would undoubtedly shed so much more light on these characters, their world. Like, are these power dynamics typical in this setting? How does this fictional society view interactions like this? Is Lift Her Tail a recurring character? Is Cranchius?
Exactly. All those questions remain. Context would change everything, potentially.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are your own initial thoughts, your gut reactions to this scene? And then how might those interpretations shift if you suddenly had the full script?
Yeah, this little peek behind the curtain of the Lusty Argonian Maid definitely leaves you with a lot to mull over.
It shows how much complexity can be packed into even the shortest dramatic exchange. Lots to think about there.